Hey, today I'll be talking about episodes 51 through 53 of YanXi Palace. Since establishing this shaky ceasefire, Consort Yu and the 5th Prince have been visiting Yingluo more often. Must be nice seeing the baby you saved all grown up, and he seems like a very nice kid. Ming fucking Yu has not learned a single gosh darn thing about keeping her mouth shut.
我们娘娘将来自会有阿哥孝顺，不劳我阿哥操心了。
Guys, have I not been showing restraint? I haven't badmouthed her in at least 4 days, but she is just, after all she's been through, after all Yingluo has done to save her, how has she not learned to just behave? You owe Yingluo your life. You're supposed to be supporting her. Why are you constantly going out of your way to make Yingluo's life more difficult?
这还没过年，王鼠狼便上门了。明月。
Ugh. Anyway, luckily Yingluo gets the return of a servant who actually knows what he's doing.
把手给我。
哥。
Over the last 6 months, Yingluo has sent countless gifts and requests for Yuan to return to the palace and serve by her side, but he has insisted on staying at Yuanming Garden. The last time we saw him, he was absolutely fuming, but it seems like he's finally ready to forgive her.
我可没消气啊。
Yingluo is over the moon, immediately making him her chief steward, and the siblings are reunited. And just in time, the emperor calls Yingluo into Yu's palace. As soon as she enters, Yu starts the hysterics, claiming that Yingluo poisoned her son, the 5th Prince, who's lying comatose on the bed. Yingluo has indeed been spending more time with the 5th Prince, so this claim of poisoned snacks is at least plausible. Yuan rushes off to find Dr. Ye as Chun starts to pile on with the fabricated evidence. Our dear Yu clearly didn't mean any of the stuff she said about getting Chun to back off, and getting back in her good graces was just to stage this. Though that still doesn't forgive Mingyu's attitude earlier. In fact,
就连令妃娘娘身边的明玉都当着众人给臣牵连。
You see what I'm saying? Anyway, this is ridiculous and Yingluo can't even pretend to be taking it seriously.
还不如一死了之。
Finally, Dr. Ye arrives. He says the obvious first step is to make 5th Prince vomit, as this will show us exactly what he ate and get it out of his system. Yu freaks out pretending she's worried this will hurt her son, but the emperor trusts Ye and tells him to get on with it. In his vomit, they find lots of ginseng, way more than any reasonable doctor would prescribe. The pediatrician buckles like a house of cards and says Yu forced him to overprescribe. The emperor asks Yu who she was working with, and I 100% expected her to go down with the ship like we've seen hundreds of times before, but she actually fingers Chun.
主意是他出的，人参是他给的，尤其是臣妾的亲生骨肉，若不是被他逼迫，我又怎敢如此？
Chun, of course, denies it, saying Yu's just trying to get herself out of trouble, and unable to determine the truth, the emperor has both of them detained. Before Yu is dragged off, she whispers a very interesting message in her son's ear.
以后一定要听明月娘娘的话。
It takes a full day of torture and a bit of convincing from the empress, but finally, Chun's maid confesses to even more than they had expected. The maid explains that this attack on 5th Prince is nothing compared to her bigger crime, the actual murder of the 7th Prince. She spares no detail explaining how Chun colluded with the fire department to make sure the water wasn't heated and couldn't be used to put out the flames. Chun girl, I told you should have gotten rid of her. Finally, Mingyu is also able to confess to the abuse she suffered at Chun's hands. All these many years of gentleness have been a facade. The emperor is stunned as he realizes the women in the harem may have thoughts outside of what tea he likes. He begins to suspect Yingluo's motives. Maybe she didn't come back just because of his pure sex appeal? Chun is demoted to 2nd-class female attendant and sent to the Cold Palace. Yu's fate is to be determined. The Empress goes to see Chun, and considering her track record, I would be worried. Chun finally puts together how thoroughly used she's been.
竟一直做了你手里的一颗棋子。
Shen has been manipulating her every step of the way, but unlike her relationship with Yu, the Empress cannot be blamed at all. There was no force, no threats. The Empress simply provided information knowing exactly how she would react. Chun has no one to blame but herself, and Shen is just loving watching it all sink in.
我到底在为谁争？
And then she has her killed. Who keeps letting her into these prisons? The weapon used was a kite string, and since Yingluo is so partial to kites, that gets the rumor mill flowing a bit. Though really, I mean, the Empress was her last visitor. Are there no visitor logs in this place? And also, who would use their signature item to kill someone if they didn't want it traced back to them? That night, 5th Prince meets with Yingluo. She asks him to tell her what his mother whispered to him, and he tells her the truth. Yingluo is able to catch Yu on her way out of the palace and to a nunnery. Yingluo asks for an explanation, and Yu admits that she did all of this on purpose, knowing she'd be caught, knowing it would end like this. She says this was never the life she wanted, and now at least she knows her son will be safe with her. Oh my god, not Mingyu crying in the back like she wasn't just insulting her and her son 5 minutes ago. Ugh. Knowing she will never be allowed to return, Yu leaves Yingluo with one final bow and a plea to take good care of her baby boy.
保重。
The Emperor's lack of trust in Yingluo makes them fall out for the bajillionth time, and Shu uses the opportunity to try and get some attention. It's so funny that she would pull this move again. Do you not remember what happened last time? Anyway, this time, the Emperor is happy to try and use her to make Yingluo jealous, though of course that doesn't work. He folds first and goes to see her, again for the bajillionth time. He tells her honestly that it bothers him how little she seems to care what he thinks of her. He understands she's confident that she didn't do anything wrong, but when you care about someone, you naturally want to explain yourself and make sure they don't misunderstand you. Her blasé attitude really translates to, your opinion means nothing to me. He truthfully admits she's got him wrapped around her finger, and pretty much just asks that she have some mercy on him. I really love this plan of Yu's. And it touches back on the advice Yingluo gave her way back when to use whatever you've got as a weapon. In this case, Chun looking down on her, thinking she was weak enough to be manipulated forever, left Yu with this perfect opening. She couldn't get it all figured out perfectly and she had to sacrifice herself, but at least she now knows that she and her son will be safe. The only thing I would say is, you honestly could have just collaborated with Yingluo. You know she's an amazing schemer, she probably could have figured out a way to end this without you having to become a nun. But that's okay, I think she wanted out of the palace really, and as long as she doesn't run into those maids from Legend of Zhenhuan, life should be much more peaceful. At least Chun is finally gone. Shen tries to take some credit here, and it's good to see Yingluo knows better than to take her at face value. Until now, Shen has been going after people who wronged her in some way, but at this point I think the power has gone to her head and she'll go after anyone she thinks could be a threat. And technically, even just knowing about her duplicitous nature makes Yingluo a threat. Not to mention her hold over the Emperor. I hope we're gearing up for an awesome final confrontation. As for Chun's final fight, you could just feel how desperate she was to make this the killing blow. She even backtalked the Empress, she was so anxious to see Yingluo's head on a spike. And all for what? Chun was so good when she had that one thing to hold on to, but after the Fu Hong reveal, she just completely lost it. Which is reasonable to be fair, I didn't feel like it came out of nowhere. Her maid even mentioned it before, Fu Hong was her cornerstone, the only reason she got up in the morning. For it to be ripped away so unceremoniously, who wouldn't start to lose it? That said, the way she held so much anger for literally everyone but the maid has always been insane to me. Fu Hong knew nothing about your feelings. The Empress literally just thought you were friends. Why are they getting the brunt of your anger while you completely forgive the person who quite literally caused all of this? Crazy town. Finally, Yuan is back. Okay, so based on how pissed he was when we last saw him, he definitely hasn't forgiven her. I do love that they're not doing that whole evil background music thing though, so technically it could go either way. All I can do is hope and pray because man, I have missed their antics so much. Not to mention, Yingluo desperately needs a servant she can count on. Right now, all she has is Mingyu, who's... Nope, not gonna start again. I'll just say, the wordless communication between these two is the kind of support she needs in her life, and my fingers are crossed in cautious optimism. Till next time, thanks for watching.